All right, this is going to be a look at some Mark Andrews film from the last 3 weeks, specifically as the Ravens offense has just continued to go downhill in terms of points per game, continue a downward trend that was started basically after the bye week, which is very weird and unusual for NFL offenses to take a downward turn after a bye week. But it also coincides with Lamar not being able to play in the last 4 weeks or better part of the last 4 games. The weird thing in terms of Andrews, though, is last year after Lamar went down in the Cleveland game on the road in week 14, Mark Andrews went off. He caught 11 of 11 balls last year in that Cleveland game that we lost 24-22. He had 10 catches for 136 and 2 touchdowns against Green Bay the following week at home. 8 catches against the Bengals, 6 for 6 against the Rams, and then 8 of 15 for 85 in the regular season finale against the Steelers. He really went off. He had, to me, his best stretch of the season last year was this time of year, and it coincided with Lamar not playing, at least to a certain extent. That doesn't mean that I think that he plays better away from Lamar. I recall hearing people say that last year. He certainly had 2 really monster games last year with Lamar, but as it stands now, I don't think he's playing his best stretch of the season at all here recently. 3 catches against the Falcons, 3 against the Browns on 7 targets, 2 against the Steelers. We have to go all the way back to week 11 against Carolina for him to have more than 5 catches and greater than 53 yards, and hasn't had a touchdown since week 6 against the Giants. I would say he's in a downward trend. Is health possibly an issue? It could be one of the factors. Certainly the offense is one of the factors, but as the run game has heated up in the last 3 weeks, averaging almost 200 per game against the Steelers, Browns, and Falcons, you would think that there would be some opportunities for Andrews down the field. And I thought I saw some of the things that we needed earlier, maybe 5-6 weeks ago, in terms of outbreaking routes down the field, going away from Andrews' tendency to run more over concepts. But it has not manifested itself consistently into plays down the field, nor into consistent production for Mark Andrews. What I did here is I tried to categorize a lot of his routes from the last 3 or 4 weeks. And the first set I'm going to look at is Andrews playing the X. So backside away from trips, or in this case quads. I don't think it has been nearly as successful as in previous seasons. Now, in this case, it is against the Falcons. Huntley is just throwing the football based upon the coverage. If the guy's going to be on the top side, then he might throw the back shoulder fade like he throws on the next play I show you. In this case, it looks like Andrews is starting to win, so he's just going to throw it up the field, and Andrews wins clearly. So, all the ability is there. There's no reason to say that Andrews can't produce. Why aren't we getting more out of it is my question. Why do you think we're not getting more out of it? First third down of the game against the Browns the week before. Defensive pass interference on Emerson. Pretty clear call if you ask me. Didn't look as bad from that angle, but the end zone angle I think looks a little bit worse. Again, same thing. Huntley is just throwing the football depending on the coverage. In this case, the guy's a little bit on the top side, so he's going to throw the back shoulder. Andrews making himself available for it. Guy got hands on him. I think it's Emerson before the ball arrives, so pass interference. I just still don't feel like Andrews as the X is accomplishing what we need it to accomplish. In my opinion, if they're going to keep the safety backside, like a lot of these teams are in some of these clips, meaning corner here, which I think is Sutton, and then safety backside, then we've got to look to attack up here, in my opinion. And you'll see at least twice in this video that guys are open to the top side, one of which is Deshaun Jackson, I think, on the play that's coming up here. But a pass that's knocked down by Sutton on a third down, thrown on the wrong side by Huntley, obviously. Or maybe he should have waited to throw the football, but he's got immediate pressure right in his face. There's nothing he can do in terms of, is Andrews going to be able to pull this back to the sideline? That wouldn't happen. Highsmith's going to be there by that time. So some of these things in terms of Andrews or anyone's production in the passing game is impacted by other factors. Again, Andrews down here at the X. Sutton is their right corner. over the middle. Ball, he was going to be targeted there. Now, where we would want to go with this football is DeSean Jackson up top if we had it to do over again. But again, there's pressure. Huntley is a guy who's going to throw the ball to the first read if there is any type of pressure. But certainly if we have time, we want to get the ball to DeSean Jackson here. Basically, this is a 3-on-3 up to the top side. Our 3 receivers versus their 3 defenders. And DeSean Jackson has his man beat pretty easily. It's a touchdown if the ball was thrown out in front. Oops, sorry. If the ball was thrown out in front here, to give DeSean Jackson an opportunity to catch the football. Sorry, having trouble with my player. There we go. All right, so now let's look at some stuff where Andrews, one more as the backside guy, and it just seems like him and Huntley are not on the same page on certain things. Huntley was originally looking down here. Andrews running the speed out. If he was the first part of the progression, you throw the football. All right, but he was not, so he's going to turn this upfield. Huntley, no pressure in his face, throws it away. If it's Lamar, Lamar probably finds a way to create a little bit of extra room, and then as Andrews works his way up the right sideline, Lamar gives him an opportunity to make this play. That's the difference between Lamar and Huntley. Obviously, even though Huntley can scramble some, it's generally scrambling to run after his second read is covered, and he's no longer trying to work through the progression. Lamar would navigate the pocket, move around some, maybe break the pocket, but still look to throw the ball downfield. In my case, there's been, in my opinion, there's been many opportunities for Andrews out there that we've left on the field. Here's one other one. Against the Browns last week, if it's Lamar, he's throwing this football somewhere around the W in Browns. And this is probably a touchdown to Mark Andrews. Patented routes, I talked about this in another video. You may think, where's the ball going to be thrown, Coach? It's going to be thrown somewhere where Andrews can make a play, but the defender cannot. That would be the idea. And for whatever reason, Huntley, who appears to have his eye on Andrews, is not recognizing that this safety is comboed on the backside with Oliver, with the corner to defend Oliver, and would not be able to make a play on that ball at all. Forgive me. All right, another missed opportunity here the week before that against the Steelers. Mesh concept. Multiple people talked about this online. And Demarcus Robinson, you can see his frustration as well. Successful job of scheming 2 versus 1. So we have got an in-breaking route post by Robinson, the over by Andrews, and the only guy who can defend it is the safety here. And for whatever reason, Huntley is already off of that read. He's going down here to Drake on the bottom side. Short gain. Missed opportunity. Could have been a touchdown. So it's clearly showing you that the impact of Andrews is being mitigated, or is being minimized, I should say, by Huntley's play. There is no question about it that Huntley has been very inconsistent and making reads really quick, coming off of reads too fast in terms of the progression. If he is looking here, there's no reason for him to be looking here already. It's mesh. This is a later developing part of the route progression. It's not going to be something you throw in the middle of the field, although this does appear to be man, and Andrews is just absolutely naked, wide open. No one covered him off the jump at all. This, again, is another play I feel like maybe Lamar and Huntley are their most different in terms of how they read Andrews. But last year's stats when Lamar went out in week 13 onward don't really reflect that, because Andrews made so many plays with Huntley. A lot of them look like this one, where he's able to find space. Huntley's able to get, a little bit of room to the right and then get locked on to Andrews, who is exceptional at finding open space. Maybe this is what we need to do a little more often. But the run game's working now. Really, to me, there needs to be improvement in how to handle play-action passes with Andrews, with DeSean Jackson, with Demarcus Robinson, whoever. You can say, DeSean Jackson really doesn't have much of an impact. At least he's holding this safety, and that's allowing Andrews to work in between the second level of the defense and then the third level of the defense, which is the corners and the safeties, and then find space therein. Can he still do that consistently? Yes. There's another example. Last week against the Falcons. Just hasn't happened that often enough. This would be one of the better jobs, I would say, of Huntley, who's under center here, obviously, getting back here, looking to the left, which I think is Watkins, coming back to the other side of the field. Only a 2-receiver route, finding Andrews, who's shaking the safety to create space right around midfield. 2-read play, obviously, with only 2 receivers out there. Huntley does not seem to have improved a ton in getting to that 3rd and 4th read here lately in the season. I would say that's a little bit of an indictment of the Ravens staff. All right, very lazy by Andrews here, but there is some positives about it. It's an out-breaking route, which we need more of from Andrews. He tends to run a route tree that, looks like this. Occasionally, you get a little snag in the middle of the field. The out-breaking routes, I think, have been really productive. Also, this is our stretch set where we have trips to the left and a tight end backside. We're normally running stretch to this side, to the trip side, to the 3-receiver side. So running some play action, I think, is important. I think we got to run some play action with the stretch look. This is kind of a half play action. I would say it's not a really great play action, but we do have multiple guys open on the play. I'm not sure why we don't go back to concepts like this. This one hit big against the Browns, and we didn't come back to it. Look, you have Ricard wide open in the flats, Oliver wide open on the backside, Andrews open here, and then he's too lazy in terms of making the catch, and it gets knocked away. That's a ball that Mark Andrews catches 99 times out of 100. In this case, he thinks the play is over and gives up the ball on a pass defense. Really, really unfortunate. All right, in the slot on the right, which has historically been his go-to play location. And even when he's had opportunities recently, I feel like things have been inconsistent. I'm not pointing the finger only at Huntley or only at Mark Andrews or only at Greg Roman. I feel like it's a combination of everyone. We're just not producing in the pass game at all. There is certainly pressure on Huntley, who's trying to throw the football. It looks like Garrett has beaten Moses here. Ball's a little bit overthrown. Andrews unable to even get a hand on it. Against man-to-man. We have not... Man-to-man has not been the defense the Ravens have had trouble with historically. Neither has it been cover 3. It's 2 high safeties and people, jumping the short underneath stuff. Now, this happens to be man. I thought the announcers did a really poor job of calling this zone. This is not zone. When Deshaun Jackson goes underneath, watch this corner go with him. That's man. And when Duve goes out, watch this slot corner go with him. And then Andrews runs the corner fade. The safety goes with him. This is man. I don't know what they were talking about. Calling this zone. It's a great play by Ward, don't get me wrong. But there's a lot to be said about it. Let's talk about the coaches. Why aren't you picking or rubbing the defender who's assigned to the in-breaking route? Is this on Duve? Is this on the coaches? I'm not sure. It just doesn't seem like other teams do this way. Other teams, when they get man, are going to pick, rub, and then create openings for their teammates, and the Ravens are just not good at that. Is that the receivers coach? Is it Greg Roman? Is it the players being selfish? I don't know. Were you to say, we know it's man, we don't want to go here for whatever reason, could we throw the ball to Andrews out here and give him an opportunity? Sure. Yeah, you could. But Huntley threw the football where he thought it was going to be an opening. I suspect that Duve is supposed to take his route into that defender, and I have no idea why he doesn't. Huge turnover because that's the difference between 13-6 or 13-9 if we do the right thing earlier in the game and get a field goal on 4th and 1. All right, slot left. Also been effective at this clearly in the last 2 or 3 years. And there's been multiple situations like this where he's the only guy who really makes himself available as the play breaks down. Demarcus Robinson isn't bad at it either, don't get me wrong. But we're just unable to make connection. Let me know why you think we're so inconsistent with Mark Andrews lately. The pass game is clearly almost beyond all help. So many situations like this where either no one's open initially for Huntley and he doesn't know how to navigate through it. Now, in this case, I think the Falcons have done a pretty good job of defending everything. All three routes are originating from this side of the field. And we've left Ricard one-on-one with an edge player. Clearly everything's breaking down now that Lamar is out, but it seemed like it was almost kind of doing that as well before he was done. Before he was injured. There's Andrews to the right against the Falcons. There is nothing that JK, I think it's JK, there's nothing JK can do here to block this corner. JK can't move pre-snap. I mean, he's off the line. No one else is moving. So theoretically he could move, but he's not allowed to do that within the structure of the offense. This corner's just jumping it. I feel like we have reduced ourselves somewhat to trying to get the ball to Andrews on these short little screens, these little hitches, because we're having trouble getting the ball to him consistently otherwise. Did we use these things before with Andrews? Yes. Is he good after the catch on these short little hitches? Absolutely. But I feel like lately we have gone to this early. If you remember, Huntley overthrew one badly the first play of the game against the Falcons on a somewhat similar play, left-hand side, bottom side of the screen. I feel like we're doing this to try to get the ball to Andrews more because we're having so much trouble getting it to him in the pass game. I'm not sure why that is. Because he's been a guy who's been successful on third downs like this one. He's been successful against man coverage, against zone. This is not Huntley. This is Anthony Brown at quarterback now. Nice strong throw. Gets it there before the coverage, which in this case was Minkah Fitzpatrick. Steelers got caught in a max pressure blitz, and we're able to pick up the first down. Another one against the Browns. Huntley in now. It's snowing. So I think third quarter, maybe fourth. 2nd and 6. So everything is still there in terms of Andrews, in my opinion. What is it that we're not doing? I don't think we're using the play action off the run game enough. How can that be? Because we're so... my answer is going to be the same it is in almost all situations. I think we're formation-based. I think that we get in one formation and run the football, and then we get in a second formation to throw the football. And we're not complementary enough. I'm trying to find one more play that I think illustrates what I think we need to do more of. We're not complementary enough with our run and pass concepts. We get into one formation, and that is a run formation. Get into another one, and that's a pass formation. All right, last play I'll show you. It took me a second to find this one. This one I think is what we need to do more of with Andrews, but we're getting off coverage. So it's not like you're always going to get off coverage. That's zone. In this case, Andrews get able to run a deep out on 3rd and 9. Too easy from the slot position. Duve is just taking Ward with him, and Andrews running the out, while Likely was able to go out into the flats and hold this flat defender. So basically, it forces a high-low situation on this guy here. On a 3rd and 11, for some reason, he allows the overthrow. The throw over the top of them for a first down. That is few and far between here recently, if you ask me. The outbreaking routes, I thought I saw more of them. During, what may be the last hurrah for this offense this year. The 2-week stretch on the road against Tampa Bay and New Orleans where we scored 27 points, that appears to be the last hurrah for this offense. We did score 27 down in Jacksonville. Should have easily scored 35, but... in those 2 games against the Bucs and the Saints, I thought I saw more outbreaking routes by Andrews, even though he only had 3 catches against Tampa Bay, and then didn't play against New Orleans. So let me know what you guys think of Andrews if you're as concerned as I am. Do I think the talent is still there? Obviously. Do I think the ability level is still there? Clearly. But it's also concerning to me that his catch percentage is the lowest it's ever been, 61%. His yards per target, lowest it's ever been, 7.2. His yards per reception, lowest it's ever been, 11.7. Granted, he does have 5 touchdowns and 42 first downs, but he had 75 first down catches last year. I think there's something to be concerned about. What is it? I don't think it's so easy that teams are bracketing him. Watch the film. Teams play a lot more too high, quarter split field coverages than you think. That is what Greg Roman struggles with. Greg Roman struggles to design a pass game against that. He can run the ball 70-75% of our games against that look, yes, but he cannot throw against it. And that, to me, is the larger concern, and I think that's really impacting Mark Andrews. Let me know what you guys think of my overall thoughts, what you think of the film I showed, and what you think of Mark Andrews' play here recently.